Do you want to know why so many people reach their 60s after a lifetime of working hard, raising families, and doing everything right, and still find themselves feeling quietly unhappy? Not miserable, not broken, just less than they expected life to feel by now. The truth is, it's rarely one big thing. It's almost never a single dramatic moment that changes everything. It's a series of small, quiet mistakes, habits and patterns that seem harmless on the surface, but slowly over months and years drain the joy, the energy, and the sense of purpose right out of daily life. In this video, we're going to talk about 7 of the most common mistakes people make after 60 that affect their happiness and well-being. These are not judgments. They are patterns that researchers and doctors have observed again and again in people who reach their later years feeling less fulfilled than they deserve to feel. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to watch for in your own life, and more importantly, what small changes you can start making today. Stay tuned until the end, because mistake number 5 is the one that surprises almost everyone, and it may be the most important one of all. Now, let's get started. One of the most common and most quietly damaging mistakes people make after 60 is this. They wait. They wait for the right moment to make a change. They wait to feel better before they start doing something. They wait for things to improve on their own. And the days turn into weeks, and the weeks turn into months. Think about 2 men, Arthur and James. Both are 64 years old. Arthur has been feeling low for about a year. Not deeply depressed, just flat. He has lost interest in things he used to enjoy, but he keeps telling himself it will pass, that maybe next month things will feel different, that he just needs a little more time. James noticed a similar feeling about a year ago, but instead of waiting, he made one small change. He started taking a short walk every morning, just 15 minutes, nothing dramatic. Within a few weeks, he noticed his mood beginning to lift. Within a few months, he had added other small things. A phone call to an old friend once a week, a new book, a reason to look forward to each day. Researchers have found that passive waiting, what psychologists call behavioral withdrawal, is one of the strongest predictors of deepening unhappiness in older adults. The brain responds to action, not to waiting. Every small step you take sends a signal to your nervous system that things are moving forward. The good news is that the first step doesn't have to be big. It just has to be taken. Because waiting for happiness to arrive on its own is one of the surest ways to make sure it never does. After 60, most people are carrying something they have never fully put down. An old argument with a sibling, a friendship that ended badly, a hurt from a spouse that was never fully spoken about, a falling out with a child that was papered over but never truly repaired. These things sit quietly in the background of daily life. They don't always announce themselves, but they affect everything. Imagine 2 women, Ruth and Helen, both 68 years old. Ruth has been estranged from her younger sister for 11 years over a dispute about their mother's estate. She tells herself she has moved on, but the truth is she thinks about it several times a week. At family gatherings, there is always a space where her sister should be. She carries it in her body, a low persistent tension she has almost stopped noticing. Helen had a similar falling out with her brother 7 years ago. 2 years ago, she decided she was tired of carrying it. She wrote him a letter, not to relitigate who was right, just to say she missed him and she was sorry for her part in it. He wrote back, "They are not yet close, but the weight she had carried for years lifted in a way she had not expected." Studies have shown that unresolved resentment and chronic emotional tension are directly linked to elevated stress hormones, poorer immune function, and significantly lower life satisfaction in people over 60. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from what happened. The weight of an old wound belongs to the past. Carrying it into your 60s and 70 seconds costs you something you cannot afford to keep spending. The good news is it's never too late to put it down. A letter, a phone call, even a conversation you have only with yourself. Because the peace you make with your past is one of the most powerful gifts you can give your future self. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number to below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Now let's move forward. This one happens so gradually that most people don't notice it until their world has become very small. After 60, many people slowly start doing less. They stop going to places that feel like too much effort. They decline invitations more often than they accept them. They tell themselves they prefer staying home, that they've earned the quiet. And sometimes that's true. Rest and peace are earned. But there is a difference between choosing quiet and shrinking away from life without fully realizing you are doing it. Think about two men, George and Frank, both 66 years old. George retired 3 years ago and has gradually stopped doing most of the things he used to enjoy. He tells himself he just doesn't feel like it anymore. But the truth is, he has stopped being asked. Because he has said no so many times that people have stopped reaching out. His days are quiet, predictable, and somewhere beneath the surface of that predictability is a loneliness he hasn't given a name to yet. Frank also retired 3 years ago. He made a deliberate decision to say yes more than he said no for the first year, even when it felt like an effort. He joined a walking group. He started attending a weekly community breakfast. He is not a naturally social person, but he built enough connection that his days have texture and variety. Researchers have found that the gradual shrinking of daily activity and social engagement after retirement is one of the leading causes of depression and cognitive decline in adults over 60. The brain needs novelty. It needs engagement. It needs reasons to stay awake to the world. And world can always be expanded again. One yes at a time. One new face. One small commitment that gets you out the door. Because the size of your daily life has a direct effect on the size of your happiness. Mistake 4. Neglecting your physical body because you feel okay. One of the most common things doctors hear from patients in their 60s is this: I feel fine. I don't really need to change anything. And often, that is genuinely true. They do feel fine. Nothing is broken. Nothing hurts badly enough to demand attention. Life is manageable. But feeling fine is not the same as being well. And the body after 60 requires deliberate attention in a way it simply did not before. Let me tell you about two of my friends, Margaret and Susan, both 63 years old. Margaret feels fine. She is not in pain. Her checkups come back normal, so she has not made any particular effort to change her habits. She sits most of the day. She eats what she has always eaten. She tells herself she will start exercising when she feels like she really needs to. Susan also felt fine at 63, but after a conversation with her doctor, she started making small deliberate changes before she felt she had to. A 30-minute walk 4 days a week, more protein at meals, better sleep habits. Nothing extreme, just consistent small efforts. 5 years later, the difference between them is visible. Not just physically, but in energy, mood, clarity, and how much each woman is still able to do independently. Experts who study longevity have noticed a common thread that the habits you build or neglect in your early 60s have a compounding effect on your health and happiness by your mid and late 70s. The body responds to what you give it now. Waiting until something goes wrong to start caring for yourself means starting from a much harder place. But the beautiful part, you can flip the switch today. It's never late to begin. Small, consistent efforts today. Build more Kabul version of you tomorrow. Your body is still listening. Give it something worth hearing. I told you, mistake number 5 would surprise most people. And this one does. After 60, many people quietly stop learning new things. Not dramatically, not all at once. They just stop seeking out experiences that challenge them. They stick to what they know. They avoid things that make them feel uncertain, or slow, or like a beginner. But here's the reality your brain doesn't want you to know. We often assume our minds are set in stone by this age, but biology says otherwise. Our brains possess a remarkable quality called neuroplasticity, the literal ability to rewire itself and forge new connections, even in our 70s and 80s. But there is a catch. If you don't use those pathways, you lose them. Learning new skills show measurably slower cognitive decline, better emotional regulation, and significantly higher reported life satisfaction than those who stop seeking new challenges. It doesn't have to be a class, a new recipe, a language app for 20 minutes a day, an instrument, a craft, anything that makes your brain work in a way it hasn't worked before. One of the quietest but most powerful sources of unhappiness after 60 is the gap between the life you imagined and the life you actually live. For some, it's small. For many, it's significant. Maybe you thought you'd be more financially comfortable by now. Maybe your relationships would look different. Maybe your health, your family, or your days would feel fuller. Each time reality doesn't match those expectations, it creates a quiet, lingering sadness that adds up over time. Think about this. One person spends years comparing her life to the one she imagined, seeing everything as a little lacking. Another person, facing the same reality, chooses to focus on what's actually there: the love, the moments, the simple joys, and finds contentment. The gap between expected and actual life outcomes is one of the strongest predictors of chronic dissatisfaction after 60. Not the circumstances themselves, but the story we tell about those circumstances. But the story can be rewritten, not by pretending life is perfect, but by noticing what's truly present. Your life, however imperfect or unplanned, is still yours, and it deserves to be seen clearly. Of all 7 mistakes on this list, this one may cost people the most. After 60, many people develop a deep reluctance to ask for help. They don't want to be a burden. They have spent their whole lives being the capable one, the one others leaned on, and asking for help feels like admitting something they are not ready to admit. So they manage alone. They push through. They say "I'm fine" when they are not. They carry things in silence that would be so much lighter if shared. Keeping everything inside can quietly weigh you down, but opening up, even just a little, can make a world of difference. One person might try to manage grief alone and struggle in silence, while another reaches out to family, friends, or a community group and slowly finds the support and connection they needed all along. Studies and experience show that older adults who accept help, whether emotional, practical, or medical, tend to feel happier, more supported, and often even live longer. Asking for help is not weakness. It's one of the most emotionally intelligent choices you can make. Your children want to help. Your friends want to know how you really are. Your doctor can only treat what you tell them. And your community likely has people waiting for the kind of connection you're also seeking. Now that you know these 7 mistakes, take a moment to reflect, and all of these can be reversed. Even small choices today can make your years ahead happier and more fulfilling. If something here felt familiar, that awareness is the first step toward change. The goal isn't perfection, it's living more honestly, more connected, and fully present. We'd love to hear from you. Comment which mistake surprised you most and one thing you'll do differently this week. If you found this helpful, like, subscribe, and share with someone over 60 who needs to hear this. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.